So recently, before coming to Caruso, I lost my only Bible. I was very upset about this because this was not only my only Bible, but my favorite Bible. Still needing a Bible to come to Caruso, I asked my dad if I could borrow his, and he let me. So I came here with my dad's Bible, and then while we were at Highway for Fireworks that one night, I lost his Bible too. Now I didn't have any Bible at all, and still needing a Bible to read from for Caruso. I asked Miles, my counselor, to see if I could borrow his, and he let me borrow his as well, and I was very glad about that. And then I lost his Bible as well. Now I didn't have any Bibles once again, and this time I was especially upset because this wasn't just someone in my family's Bible, this was someone else's Bible that I had lost, and it wasn't mine to lose. So I was hoping he wasn't going to be mad, and when he asked me later if I still had his Bible, I had to tell him the truth, but he wasn't even mad. In fact, he forgave me for it and then went to go look for it. I was very relieved about this because we all need forgiveness, including me at that moment. And so whenever I think about people that need forgiveness, I especially think of these nations back in Amos's time. They were just doing awful things. So Amos was a shepherd and not really a prophet, but God called on him to tell the nations the things they were doing that were bad. And they were doing all kinds of awful stuff. And the entire first and to the second chapter of Amos is just God telling the nations what they did wrong, why he's going to condemn them for it. And here are some of the nations that God was going to judge. So Edom fought against their own brothers and sisters with swords, fighting them with anger, unrelenting. Amos chapter 1 verse 11 says, "They chased down their relatives, the Israelites, with swords, showing them no mercy. In their rage they slashed them continually and were unrelenting in their anger." Does anyone in here have siblings? You probably fight with those siblings occasionally. I know I have the occasional scuffle with my siblings. And I think about that. I wonder if our brothers and sisters in Christ are like our siblings too. They are, aren't they? If they are, when we fight with them, because we'll get angry at people, and we fight with them and get angry with them, that's kind of like what Edom was doing, fighting their brothers and sisters. It's pretty interesting. And then Moab, they used to go and dig up the dead kings after they had already been killed and burn their bones as overkill just to show that they were better than the other people and just go over the top with it. You know, another question I'd like to ask. Does anyone here play sports or just compete in something? Well, is it ever not enough to just win? I feel like sometimes you feel like you have to destroy your opponent and just like crush them beneath you, like put them in your place. Put them in their place, I mean to say. And just put them below you and show them that you're better. But wait a second, isn't that kind of like what Moab was doing? Just going over the top with it to show that you're better than they are? And that's pretty interesting as well. And then Judah, they didn't obey the law of the Lord. Instead, what they did was they turned to idols instead of turning to God. And have any of you ever held something above God? Like, there's all anything can become an idol for us too, just like what Judah was doing. If we put something above God and we disobey him for that thing, that's just like what Judah was doing. And anything can become an idol for us. Money, ourselves, pornography, there are so many things that can be an idol. And if we put that above God and disobey him for it, that's almost the same thing as Judah was doing. Now, all these people are obviously doing very bad things, and as such, they are subject to judgment. And they aren't repenting, they aren't asking for forgiveness, they aren't trying to turn to God. To Edom, God said he will send fire to consume them. Amos chapter 1 verse 12 says that, "So I will send down fire on Timon, and the fortress of Bozrah will be destroyed." And if we're fighting against our brothers and sisters as Edom was, are we also subject to the same fire? Will we also burn? And then Moab, God will send fire upon them as well. And Moab will go down in a great tumult and amid war cries and a blast of a trumpet. He will destroy her ruler and kill all her officials with him. Amos chapter 2 verse 2 says that, along with Amos chapter 2 verse 3. They were killing, and they were overkilling, just over the top, crushing their opponents. And it seems like they're also going to be killed in an over the top way. And if we've been doing that, just trying to put others beneath us and just go over them, that's like what Moab was doing. And if so, are we subject to the same judgment as they were? And then Judah, they got the same punishment as Edom and Moab, burning by fire. Again, if we're putting something above God and sacrificing our obedience to him for that thing, we're going to be subject to the same judgment as Judah was. If we've been doing any of these things as the nations did, we are subject to judgment, and we all need forgiveness for that judgment. We're all gonna be judged if we don't ask for forgiveness. But this is the hope we can have. If we ask God to forgive us, we will be forgiven if we forgive those who have sinned against us. And Matthew 6:14 says that. If any of us have sinned against somebody, fighting our brothers and sisters as Edom did, or trying to crush someone beneath us to show them that we're better than as Moab did, or putting something above God as an idol as Judah did, then we need forgiveness. And that's the hope we can have, is that God will forgive us as long as we forgive those around us as well. So everyone, if you've sinned against someone, go now and ask them to forgive you. And if someone has sinned against you, forgive them as soon as possible. We all of us equally need forgiveness. Every single one of us needs forgiveness. So don't be burned like the nations were. Forgive and be forgiven.